continuing with our Ontario Yours to Discover, the second Great Lake to border southwestern Ontario, of course, is Lake Erie, and all along its north shore you'll find a fascinating blend of history, parks, and picturesque tours.
Windsor's Ambassador Bridge. When it was completed back in 1929, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. Windsor is the gateway to Canada from Detroit in the mid-continental U.S., and it's a pretty good place to pick up the Talbot Trail or Heritage Highway and explore all of the parks, the beaches, the towns and villages along Lake Erie's north shore. First stop, Amherstburg, the site of Fort Malden National Historic Park. Peaceful enough now, but with the memories of violent clashes of the War of 1812. Today, Army maneuvers are confined to underage recruits like these, but in its time, Fort Malden was a vital military bastion, a major naval shipyard, and an important center for negotiation with the Indians. Dress-up time for the youngsters is mainly fun, but it also brings alive the reality of our past, the hardships and dangers of a very different way of life for the 19th century militiamen. Lying on the banks of the Detroit River between Lakes Erie and Huron, Fort Malden was occupied in its time by both American and British troops. Echoes of that early era live on. The way of life reenacted exactly as it was. Making candles, spinning wool and weaving cloth. In the fort's museum, relics and artifacts, names from the past. General Brock, the great Indian leader Tecumseh, and the American General Hull. Quiet now, Fort Malden is prepared to yield up its secrets to the visitor. It remains a landmark of those major events which contributed to the shaping of our nation. All along the northern shore of Lake Erie, you'll find provincial parks like Holiday Beach, Wheatley, Rondeau, parks where you can spend a few hours or a few days. And right at the southernmost tip of the Canadian mainland is Point Pelee National Park, reaching farther south into Lake Erie than parts of California. Point Pelee, 10 square kilometers of sand and shifting marshland where nature has produced a living museum. Exotic plants, unexpected creatures, all nourished by the unusually warm climate. From the observation tower, you'll get a wide view of this unique national park where more than 300 species of birds have been observed, up to 100 in a single day. For a closer look, there's a free transit system of trackless trains, or this more traditional way, the mile-long boardwalk. For a better understanding of the park, there are trained staff on hand who will arrange conducted hikes, offer talks, film and slide presentations. Point Pelee is a treasure trove of nature, a fascinating blend of marsh, forest, and sand and pebbled beaches. They call it Canada's vegetable patch. Each year in this one corner of Ontario, 1 pound of fresh vegetables is grown for every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. 3 billion pounds each year. Surrounding the city of Chatham is some of the richest loam land in the world, and a whole variety of crops is grown. Stop by one of the roadside stands and sample the harvest along the Talbot Trail. The Talbot Trail was named after Colonel Thomas Talbot, or as he was nicknamed, the Lake Erie Baron. And nearly 200 years ago, he set out to attract settlers to this area. At first, he didn't meet with much success, so he built himself a road, 300 miles long from Windsor to Fort Erie. By 1837, 50,000 people called the Talbot settlement home. A remarkable achievement, considering the colonel was a somewhat eccentric man who seldom left his home in Port Talbot. It was called Malahide, named after his ancestral home in Ireland. And today it remains a place of peace and solitude, just as it must have been when the colonel first set foot here. The Talbot Trail will lead you into some peaceful towns and villages, like Port Stanley, a picturesque fishing village and a very popular summer resort. 50 years ago, hundreds of visitors would stream into the village to see the likes of Louis Armstrong, Benny Goodman, and the Glenn Miller Orchestra. It was the Pavilion, the largest ballroom in Canada, that brought a bit of Broadway to the north shore of Lake Erie. Today, you can enjoy an old-fashioned train ride from London to Port Stanley, or just browse through the antique shops and boutiques. It's all waiting for you, and it's yours to discover, right here in southwestern Ontario.
That guy in the blue shirt was great when you say Faye. Average, okay. After the show, get Faye's autograph. Someday it'll be worth 30 cents. I'll get you for that. She'll get me for that later. Okay, let's give away another book of Wintario tickets. Now, I didn't tell you about Rick Boston, but he's going to... are you locked back there on graphics? No, you can do it, Rick. Rick was up at the Liberal Convention in Ottawa a couple weeks back. 10 days he was there. He was dying to get back to see his wife Vi and his new son Christopher. So instead of waiting to go out the next day, he traded tickets with a CBC technician and went out right away. Unfortunately, his plane went to Toronto, was turned back, went to Ottawa, was turned away from Ottawa, and ended up in Montreal. And the next morning, when he finally ended up in Toronto, his luggage ended up in Montreal. So when he finally got it all together, he watched the rest of his global crew coming through just ahead of him into Toronto. So, Mr. Lucky, we're going to have you shoot somebody in the audience now and make them 5 tickets happier. Okay, watch on the monitor. Here comes Rick Boston and a lady who knows she's on TV. Hold up your hand so Joanne can see you. Oh, right here. Congratulations.